In recent years, the independent scene in gaming has become a lot more prevalent. While AAA games are still more popular, more players over the years have looked to the indie scene for more, fresh and creative experiences. One of the biggest companies in the indie scene right now is DreadX, which is known for their mortuary assistant and for the more degenerate Sucker for Love. However, an often overlooked IP from them is their DreadX collection, which is a collection of a bunch of demos and playtests from a bunch of different developers. And a lot of people recognize this for Faith, which started on there. However, Faith is good and all, but my personal favorite is Hand of Doom, a 90s inspired wizard sim. And this year, in May, the full game dropped. So I'm going to talk about it. We can't talk about Hand of Doom without talking about its predecessor, the Hand of Doom playable test. This game is a short experience wrapping about 30 minutes gameplay and is available on the aforementioned DreadX collection. We start out in a prisoner's cell where we meet a hooded figure who just says the words Tal Eth Ist Ort, which frees us from the cell. The way that the playtest teaches you the first spell is way better than the full game's method. The connection in the game to hearing the hooded figure say Tal Eth Ist Ort, then receiving a grimoire with those four exact words, is much more subtle and, more natural. The object of the game is to banish the Master's soul, a dark wizard who bound you to this place. The game is incredibly primitive, having really only two sections being a dungeon and a graveyard. After solving a simple torch puzzle in the dungeon, we get access to the graveyard, which grants us the spell Spirit Sight, which requires a blood sacrifice. And after using it to escape the graveyard, we can use it again to open the previous locked tomb, where after performing a blood ritual to banish the master, we accidentally revive him. And that's it. It's pretty clear that this was just the framework for the full game, which is much more vibrant and mechanically more complex. But it's actually a pretty solid title on its own. Moving on to the full game, it starts a few years after the first, and after pressing start, we get some disposition.
How about a bit of conversation? After all, it's been nothing but mumbled incantations from you the whole way. Say, what brings you to the ancient tower? I've heard whisperings of a wicked wizard that dwells there, but I dare not get near enough to learn if these superstitions ring true. Still, strange things happen in the forest. That I do know. Ah, and there it is, the old gate. Forgive, but this is as far as I go. Who knows? Perhaps of the many folk I've brought here, you'll be the first to return.
Once we arrive, we're greeted by a garden, and the attention to detail in this area makes it feel so real. The tower in the sky just looming over this dark, overgrown garden. It's just a scene that I don't think could be achievable in a pixelated game, but somehow is. Coming up to the gate, it's blocked by a wooden plank, and this is where the game teaches you the base of the control scheme. On the left of the UI, there's a bar with items, and under it, it's the use button. Anytime you want to attack with a weapon or heal, you have to go through the menu and then click use. Now, I would say that this is an annoying feature, but I do think it benefits the combat a lot. The combat is piss easy, and because every enemy gets stunned when you hit them, having to scroll through the menu makes situations more interesting and at times, especially in the late game, kind of tense. After breaking past the gate and continuing forward, the rest of the level is just kind of a set piece made to set the tone of the game and let players get used to the tank controls. After getting a key in the garden and opening a gate, we go on a bridge and go to enter the Grand Castle where Waking up, we're in a room which is a sleeping quarters and studying area. Going to leave, we run into the messenger wizard, and we can exchange a bit of small talk.
Every NPC in this game is able to be talked to. This can range from jokes or lore or, helping you with hints.
Leaving the room, we head down the main hall into the lobby. A giant crystal is in the middle of the room, and if we try to turn right and leave, we get the message, "I cannot leave. I am cursed to serve the Wizard King for eternity. Only he can grant me freedom, and that will never happen." So, with that comforting piece of knowledge, we head to the king's throne and go talk to him.
Come forth, my servant. Come and see that your servitude has not been in vain. Today, you shall finally have the chance to become my apprentice and join the Black Order. As you know, the purpose of this order is to locate and retrieve the 13 Black Relics. Ancient artifacts of immense arcane power, scattered across the dimensions, lost to the cosmos. Some I possess already, and I have sent forth my wizards to find them. All have failed so far. So now I am left with you, lowliest of my acolytes. Your first step, if you hope to survive, is to find a grimoire of your own in order to learn and cast spells. It just so happens that I know of a particularly powerful one lost among the ruins near the Druid's Forest. Go there, find the grimoire, and use it to eliminate the Lord of the Druids. He shouldn't be hard to find, just look for the one whose bark is as big as his bite. Do my deeds, do them well, and you will prove yourself worthy to join the Black Order and begin your wizard training as my apprentice.
Before heading out to the Druid's Forest, we can enter the courtyard and talk to some wizards around the area. The courtyard is almost like a continuation of the tutorial section in the beginning, where it evolves upon and expands the ideas of gameplay. Talking to the Fountain Wizard, we learn about the fountain's use. It fills empty goblets, which is essentially this game's bonfire and, by proxy, Ectus flask. The last two NPCs are the joke NPCs of the area, which this game has a lot of. And finally, leaving the courtyard, we can go to the first section of the game and sink our teeth into. After loading into the forest, we appear in a cell that the other novice wizard was in the first game. However, when we step out, it's just ruins and there's no grimoire in sight. Walking through the door, a mysterious voice greets us.
Another one of that leech's servants enters my realm. When shall I see the last of you vermin? Listen well, Cretan. The time of your ilk has drawn nigh. Leave this place now and save your own worthless life.
It's pretty clear that we're an outsider here, but because we're bound to the king, we have to go on. Walking up to the tomb of the master, it's surrounded by this red arcane magic. It is decorated with skulls and other emblems. Talking to the wizard outside the tomb, it's actually one from the Playtoss. His name is the Fanatic Wizard, and he talks about the master's resurrection in an insane, devout way. It's almost like the name fits the character, wow. Moving into the tomb, we can talk to the information wizard before grabbing the grimoire for ourselves, and this is where the game really kicks off. I know you're probably tired of watching the cutscenes, and trust me, it just kind of like grating to like switch between cutscene and text, me talking so much. It's fine. We're about to get like really into the gameplay soon. After picking up the grimoire, we can open it up and find that it serves as the inventory as well as the lore compiler for the game. It also tells you your current quests and spells, which you'll probably be referencing a lot. Leaving the tomb, the mysterious voice picks up again.
Still you approach me? You drive her closer to your own demise. There is still time enough to turn back and abandon your wicked master.
Looking around, we can find a spire with a worshipping circle, and journeying forward from it, we get our first side quest of the game. These are completely optional and only some reward you, but the process of doing them is adjacent to the plot, so you can usually do all the side quests within that given level while completing the main quest. The Blazing Woman is a wizard who wanted to be attractive, so she asked the Wizard King to turn her hot, which resulted in her stay right now. After talking to her, the quest gets added to the grimoire, but because we can't do anything, we move on. Behind the Blazing Wizard, there's a statue of King Gragas the Meaty. He has no relevance to the plot, I just thought he was cool. Farther down the path, we can find a sword, which is the first upgraded weapon in the game. Its description says, a sturdy sword for slashing sinew and steel. Now armed, we can head even deeper into the forest, but there's a gate blocking us, so we have to head to the left of the gate to meet the witch.
Welcome, apprentice. My arts of arcana and divination have foretold of your coming. I speak to you only now because our aims align. You wish to confront the Doom Lord residing within the forest, and I wish to be rid of these tiresome druids interrupting my work. I propose a deal. Since these belligerent druids have made it too dangerous to gather my ingredients, you shall do it for me. And in return, I shall clear your way forward. There are 3 enchanted mushrooms strewn about these lands that I require for my witchy work. Find these fiendish fungi and bring them to me. Then I will deal with your druidic dilemma. The first step will be to enter the dark forest. In their insolence, the druids have locked the gates to prevent more of your kind from entering. But I know an incantation that can open any lock. It goes Tal Eth Ist Ort. Use this to open the gate, then find my mushrooms. Or else.
Finally, walking into the darkest part of the forest, the voice picks up just one more time.
My forest is burning, and it is all the fault of your odious order of wizards. Find my sacred trees, put out the fires, then maybe I won't tear you limb from limb.
Before you sink an unholy amount of time into this game like I did, I want you to know that helping the Doom Lords has no real impact on the ending. I thought that I could get a different ending, and after playing the whole game a second time and helping all the Doom Lords, I kind of just got the same ending with different dialogue, so do what you want to in the plot if you play it. We're greeted with a cutscene of just gang violence. Wizards here don't really take kindly to the druids despite literally invading their domain, and the druids also, more justifiably, aren't the happiest either. Due to the wizards practicing their spells in the Dark Forest, the trees are now all burning, and because of that, the unsturdy peace treaty that the two forces had has now crumbled into pretty much a team deathmatch. Every enemy here is a KOS order, so no matter if you're trying to put out the fires on the tree or just trying to collect mushrooms, they'll attack you without any hesitation. Heading into the forest, it's apparent this level was inspired by the first Shadowcaster level, with the overgrown vines covering the walls and the maze-like layout of everything. Now, encountering the first enemy of the game, we find out that the combat is, like I said, piss easy. Not to say that the focus on the game is combat, because at its core, it's exploration, puzzle-based, but the simple enemies you fight die within like 2 hits. Making it even deeper, we can find a wizard being held captive by one of the druid's trees, and in return for saving him, he teaches us a spell called Orb of Light. Now having this, we can proceed through the dark sessions. This is where we meet the next enemy, which is the tree trunk. Unlike the druids, it takes 4 hits for them to die with the basic attacks. However, if you cast Fireball, a spell we'll get in a few minutes, you can actually one-shot them. The interesting thing about the spell mechanic is that it actually locks you in place. So, if you decide to cast anything, you need to make sure you have the space to do so. For example, if you're getting absolutely overwhelmed by enemies, you may want to cast an AoE spell. However, if you try to cast one, you end up just getting mauled by everyone. Eventually, you do run into a brick wall. There are vines all around the forest, and without a way to dispose of them, we can't get past them. Backtracking a little bit, we can make our way through the dungeon with the Orb of Light, and on the other side, we can meet the Fire Wizard. He rewards you for finding him by teaching you the best spell in the game, Fireball. The casting of the spell requires you to say Ort Ort, which is probably the most simple and the best casting pattern for a spell. After using the spell on the vines that were previously blocking us, we can make our way even deeper into the forest and into a druid's tree spot where we get ambushed. After fighting off the horde, we can talk to a wizard who teaches us the other side of the coin of Fireball, Rain. That's the spell's name, by the way. It's not Rainstorm or anything else, it's just rain. We use that to put out the fire, set to prevent us from leaving, and then douse all of the druid's trees just because we're so charitable. After dousing the trees, giving the mushrooms to the witch, and doing all the side quests, the path to the Doomlord is clear. The gimmick for this fight is really cool, and the arena is really tight, so not being able to move while casting spells makes it so the fight actually has some tense movements. The first part of the fight, you spend burning down the shrubs surrounding the Doomlord's force field emanators, and the second half is breaking those stones by hitting them 3 times. While I do like the gimmick of the whole fight, I do wish they added more attacks to make it, more tense. All he does is try to get close to you to auto-attack you, and I think having, him send out a rock attack could add more complexity to the fight, and at the same time, not make it convoluted. After beating him, he gives us one last message before sending us back to the castle.
Well done. You have proven you have mettle enough to be my ally. My druids will cease their hostilities for now and seek to parley with the wizards. Perhaps your actions here will even lead to peace between our people. As thanks, I have granted access to the portal yonder. You may take it and return to your master. Be wary of him, though. I well know the depths his evil can descend to. Take care you are not swept away in it. If ever there is a chance to overthrow your master, know that I will be there. Perhaps if you befriend the other Doom Lords, they may do the same. Now go. I will stay here and gather my strength. I fear there are greater struggles yet to come.
The next part of the game is the largest part, and each section of this level has its own spells that you can learn, its own objectives, and enemies. However, each section is also interconnected through the different portals in them. So, it's a really interesting balance between those two. Coming back from the forest, we get instructions from the Wizard King where to go next. And first and foremost, if you did what I did and helped the Doomlord, he scolds you for failing a task.
You incompetent imbecile. You recovered the grimoire, but you couldn't even slay that walking shrubbery. I can only hope your weakness does not doom us all. Well, since you already have the grimoire, and were able to use your spellcraft to escape the forest, I shall make you my apprentice nonetheless. Welcome to the Black Order, apprentice. The creature you encountered was an extra-dimensional being known as a Doom Lord. Long ago, the Nephilim, a chaos deity born of both light and darkness, threatened to destroy the universe. It was destroyed and its body divided into 13 pieces by 13 Templars and hidden away, regarded as relics and kept safe by a holy order of monks. The order has since been destroyed, and the black relics scattered to the winds. Those who possess these relics become beings of great cosmic power, and the Doom Lords have stolen them. By killing the Doom Lords, you are bringing their power to me for safekeeping, and keeping it away from those that would use it for evil. It's true. I'm not the only one seeking out the last of the Black Relics. That is why you must continue your quest and slay yet more Doom Lords for me. To find the next Doom Lord, you must walk the plains and journey into the elemental dimension. Snuff out his existence and transfer his power to me. Only then can this world be saved. What, you're still here? I already told you what to do. Go to the elemental plane and slay the Doom Lord of Elements. Release to me the power he wields. Now, begone and do your king's bidding.
In the castle, there's nothing we can do for now, so we can head to the portal, and the scenery is stunning. There's this tranquility that the level has that's oddly calming. Obviously, you know the place is hostile, but it's very reminiscent of like a foggy morning. In the middle of the lake is an island, and heading over to it, we meet the coolest character in this game.
Another mortal has entered my elemental plane. Oh, it's another one of the so-called Wizard King's ignominious thralls. I've had enough of your ilk coming to my realm and disrupting the delicate balance of the elements. It's about time I did something about it. By air above and earth below, upon you this curse I bestow. By fire within and water around, to this plane be eternally bound. I shall enjoy watching you rise within my labyrinth for all eternity.
Now's the time I want to talk about the design direction in the game. The stylistic choice that Torpilduke decided to put in was FMV, standing for full motion video. Torpilduke decided to put it in because it's the line between unnervingness and the goofy side, which is pretty much this game encapsulated. However, not everything is a green screen sprite. Some things are 3D models, and they're really cool. Another thing I really want to touch on is the concept art. Just boom, boom. Look at them. The concept art is really awesome. Like, originally I saw the green tree as like the forest like boss, I was like, oh, that's lame. But then I was like, I saw the concept art and I was like, dude, it's awesome. Now that we've been sent to Limbo, we see the thing that the game is pretty much named after. The Hand of Doom. And in the corner, the elemental level works pretty simply. It's just a bunch of fetch quests, but done in an actual good way. This level leans really into the exploration and puzzle aspect of the game, and I think it's probably the best level in the game, at least gameplay wise. To escape, we need to collect 4 different hands and put them on a pedestal surrounding the Hand of Doom. However, to get the hands, we need to work in tandem to find keys for Trinket to open the portals to other dimensions. The first section is the fire section, and stepping off the giant hill, we can talk to the first NPC, the Burning Wizard. The goal for this section is to put out all of the Burning Wizards, and after doing that, we get given access to a gate. Moving past it, we meet a new wizard, who teaches us a new spell to summon a breeze of wind to Kulrost. Now with the wind spell, we can move a boulder to give us access to a suspended platform, where we meet the first variation of enemies here, the fire crystals. These are more tanky than the trunks, and are pretty much immune to any spell cheese for now, so you can choose to walk by them or spend time to learn their patterns. Walking across the platform in its entirety lets us find the key and an access route back to the main hill. Giving the key to Trinket, he gives us access to the next world, the exact parallel to fire, ice. And thankfully, the first NPC we talk to doesn't scream this time.
Ahoy, me bucko. See that big old block of ice over there? I bet if ye were able to give it a shove, ye could get about that iceberg floating in the water. I wonder if there'd be a spell ye could use.
Like the wizard says, this level functions by using an ice block as a chauffeur to different islands around the map. Our goal in this section is to melt 3 ice orbs, which are all guarded by troops of ice variants of the crystals. After clearing through the enemies, we can break the first orb, before heading to another island to destroy the second one. This section is pretty much the quickest and easiest because there's no spell that is gatekeeping you from getting the key, and the objectives are incredibly accessible. Also while in the level, we can meet a wizard frozen in ice, and if we decide to save him, he tells us that Trinket, probably in a manic state, ripped a poem he wrote into 2, and hid the parts away in the fire realm. This poem is the key to helping the Doomlord in this section, but we'll get back to that later. After leaving the island the frozen wizard is on, we can find another with a cave-like entrance. After fighting some enemies with broken pathfinding, we can destroy the final ice orb, and upon doing so, we get the message, "You hear the sound of ice walls crumbling." After swimming across the ice water, which is a viable strategy, we can find a cave entrance that was previously blocked by the ice. Going inside, we can find a platform of ice that we can push out to connect to use yet another ice fairy. Stepping on the platform, it brings us to an island where the level finally gets good. We meet a rocky wizard who teaches us the spell Ist Eth Ist Or. Casting the spell coats us in rocks, giving us a natural form of armor. So like any well-adjusted person does, we cast the spell and jump into the frozen lake. Plunging in, we get to go to the bottom of the map, below the water. The underwater section is sprawling with really cool set pieces and secrets to explore. For example, the cave that had the ice fairy to get to that island has a chest with a blood goblet at the bottom of it. I know that's not the best example, but there's so much attention to small detail, it's really awesome. Underwater, we can see the remnants of old societies, Greek statues, and architecture line the floor. Thematically, I think Torpo was trying to achieve the nature retaking man-made things theme, which is really cool. I like his use of aesthetic design that has some connection to like a higher meaning. I could totally just be soying out and reading too far into it, but it's my video, so. Progressing further underwater, we can find tunnels that are lined with spikes at the top. Exploring them around, we can find chests and enemies scattered about. And also this guy who looks like every slime character from any American movie. Casting Fireball down in the water doesn't extinguish it, instead it turns it into a blue orb that does the exact same thing. Progressing deep enough into the tunnels, we come across a portal that we haven't unlocked yet, the Weed Portal. Stepping through, we arrive in the elemental plane of Earth, but in a secluded section away from the main map. Going forward, we need to cast Orb of Light to see, and this is where we meet the Earth Crystals. These guys are tanky and take either 4 fireballs or 8 basic attacks to kill. This room has 3 of them, which is kind of a letdown. I think the gimmick of this fight is really cool, having to balance casting fireballs and keeping your light source, but because of the combat of the game being easy and primitive, it's not really a challenge. Progressing to the end of the cave, we pick up the second key, and going back,
if we stick around the ice plane just a bit longer, we can find the best weapon in the game. After exiting the weed portal, if we turn right, we can find a cell with an enemy guarding it. After killing the enemy and opening the cell, we get the Wand of the Wizard King. It does the same physical damage as the base sword, but its ability is where it becomes broken. The Wand of the Wizard King will recast the last spell you performed when you press the attack button. So this makes you into a literal Toho boss, because you can just cast infinite fireballs with no drawback. And it's such a good weapon that the one speedrunner who plays this game goes out of their way to pick it up for the final boss. After heading back to Trinket and giving him the key, he unlocks the third portal for us. And this is where this section opens up and gets kind of confusing. Going through it, we appear on a floating island, and the change in music for each section is most apparent here, changing from the heavy rock instruments to woodwind counterparts. Around the islands are a bunch of floating crystals and a walkway with a strong gust of wind pushing us back. Using our new spell, we can now weigh ourselves down enough to pass across the bridge to the other island, where we can learn yet another spell, Fire Shield. Casting this spell with Tall at Tall, we gain immunity to any fire, including obstacles and attacks. Turning around, the bridge has flames spewing from it. Now, in retrospect, the answer to this next puzzle is incredibly obvious, but because I'd been marathoning the game, I spent 15 minutes in the flying island, which had nothing else for you to do, before realizing I needed to go back to the fire plane and use this spell there to get to another portal. Back in the fire dimension, we can cross the giant lava lake with our new spell and enter a portal back to the floating island, this time in a new area. After defeating some enemies and unlocking a chest, a magic bridge appears and connects us back to the island. Traveling further, we can finally get the final key. I kid you not, while writing this script, I am at the 38-minute mark of the elemental plane section, and the next hour and 25 minutes is me running around like a Texaco worker off fentanyl trying to find the solution. I unironically, because this game has no people in it, went to the Steam discussions tab for health, and even then there was nothing. The next of what should have been 30 minutes is spent collecting different parts of the Hand of Doom, each pertaining to different elemental realms. Each hand is holding up a different set of fingers, and when placed on the podium surrounding their sacrificial dagger, will lift up the fingers on the Hand of Doom in direct conjunction with the fingers on the hand. So, if you do it right, you can actually get the Hand of Doom to flip you off. Now, if you are gonna go and play this on your own, which you totally should by the way, make sure you don't put the hands down on the podiums as you get them. Remember the podium that I told you about in the ice biome? Well, collecting the pieces of that poem reads out, hum hum hum. The master's blood courses through the lands, water flows beneath his thumb. Each bend moves closer to his sanctuary, as great fires make the wicked one weary. Thrum, 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 each master's blood courses under the earth, steady as a mirthless drum. Each beat brings closer the songs of ends, as the great winds of prophecies descend. Now, the answer to this is pretty obvious. Just put the hands on the pedestals in the order that the elements appear in the poem. But, I didn't do this. So...
No! What have you done? You've put the elements back together wrong. The very fabric of reality is now in chaos. Prepare to die, Mage Spawn.
The fight with the Doomlord is incredibly easy, and I think it encapsulates the combat in the game, like, perfectly. The boss in my run genuinely never hit me, and all this fight serves as is a progress check to make sure you have all the spells. The gimmick revolves around 4 islands around the main one, and having to kill literally one enemy on it. And after doing this, and hitting the Doomlord a few times, he finally dies. I just want to interject here. That's like less than a paragraph describing the boss fight, and people are probably going to be like, oh, you're not doing it justice. But genuinely, I tried to find material to write about. That's it. There's no interesting gimmick or any cool design. It's literally just like the design we've already seen, and then like a spell check. It's not this game's strongest demonstration of design. Oh man. If only Marathoning v Froggy had a way to keep his energy up during that segment, maybe he wouldn't have pissed off the Doomlord. Hold up. I think I have an idea. Dub. Tall. E-S. Oh my god, sponsored segment. It's Dubby. the healthy energy drink alternative to so many other run-of-the-mill things. I know you know about probably Gamer Subs, G Fuel. I swear to God, this is better. It uses 100% natural ingredients. It uses nootropics to keep you awake instead of like taurine, which is literal bull cum. You're drinking bull cum if you're drinking any other energy drinks. I want you to know that. Dubby doesn't do that to you. They got you covered with natural ingredients and actual healthy things to keep you awake and jitterless during your grinding sessions. I mean, whether it's for the gym, for those late night gamings, if you're editing a video like I am right now, I mean, Dubby's got you covered. My personal favorite, it's Dub Sludge. I can't get enough of it. And they even got the secret sauce in there. I don't even know what it is, but it's awesome. So if you want to support a broke magician out, how about you head down to the description and use my referral code, or use The Fellas at checkout, all caps, The Fellas, THEFELLAS, at checkout for 10% off, and bam, I got you covered. Okay, back to the video. After beating the Doom Lord of Elements, we've beaten the longest section of the game, and I tried to make it as brief as I could because scripting 2.5 hours of gameplay to a concise video format is not the easiest, but if you play the game for yourself, there's a lot of vistas and secrets around that I didn't get to in the video that are really cool and you should check out. Coming back out of the Blood Realm, we come back to the serene environment, and it's oddly comforting and also a disconcerting vibe. Though those words like contradict each other, but the gravity of the situation you're in just beautifully works here. After being told you've literally doomed the entire human race, and then just having the juxtaposition of this utopia world. Now with the power of the Doom Lord of Elements, we can head back to the Wizard King for our final assignment. Earlier I talked about the world-ending event. Here the Wizard King explains exactly what it is. Essentially, long ago, Nephilim ruled over all of space and time. However, after being destroyed by 13 Templars, they each kept one part of it within inside of them. These are the black relics that we've been collecting. However, because of corruption, the other Templars started to kill each other to gain powers of the other elements. Funny enough, the only Doom Lords we kill in this game are the objectively good beings. They only have one black relic each, which means they were all just satisfied with the one piece of the Nephilim they had and to fulfill their role as a Templar. It's funny because you're essentially killing the good guys. So following the King's order, we'll head to the Abandoned Wing by crossing over a pool of water using the Blizzard spell. And getting there, it's definitely abandoned. Unlocking a door brings us to the library where we find the alchemy lab. At the back of the room, there's a wooden body laying on the table with a key inside of its gut. On the left of the table is the book that reads, "Oil of vitriol is capable of dissolving many metals. To produce, one needs green vitriol, nitrate, and water. Heat the components and apply carefully." Around the room, we can find the green vitriol and nitrate. However, the water is located outside in a well. I kind of like this puzzle. I do like the idea of alchemy being added into this game because it fits the whole aesthetic, but I wish there was more done with this. This is the only time in the game that this shows up, and it's genuinely such a cool feature that I wish it was explored more. After creating the vitriol and grabbing the key from the wooden body's gut, we can put it into a hole in the bookcase, which makes the staircase come out of the wall. And when we get up to the loft area, there's a craft stained window for you to break, but I kid you not, I did not think to attack it until I read the description of the glass. So, breaking through the other side, we get acquainted with the main gimmick of this level, the blood tubes. These are puzzles that every game puts in as a basic thing. Even System Shock did it, so it's kind of an industry standard. I do like these puzzles, but it's a little disappointing that the final level's gimmick is just a really basic trope. Torpal does try to tweak it by making certain tubes in the puzzle missing, therefore needed to be found, but if the level had the alchemy thing like it did in the beginning, I think it would have been way cooler. Pricking out our hand, we fill the tube up with blood and a bookcase opens. There's a fireplace with a lever, and after casting the rain spell, we can flip it to reveal a secret area with a genuinely insane individual. After configuring the pipes, we can head upstairs to an industrial grinder filled with bodies, and like any other normal person, we turn it on. Going back to the original room, we configure yet again more pipes to unlock a stone wall, and brings us to another room to configure more pipes, to finally get to a room where we can create a refined blood crystal. To do this, first we have to heat up the blood by using our fireball, and after the blood is vapor, we have to cast Blizzard to cool it down into the crystal form. Now that we have the blood crystal, we can finally give it to the insane man, and...
We're now in the area of the castle that is even more forgotten than the last, with the walls being corroded and everything around us being dead. After pushing a button and walking out into the hall, we meet the only person in this place with you.
Your life has entered my lair. I feel the pulse of your blood and sense the presence of another child born of my flesh.
Walking around the halls will eventually come to what I can only describe as a medieval red room, with a decayed corpse of a tortured individual in the middle of a bunch of spectator seats. After inspecting the body, the game's horror tag finally made sense, because turning around, the amalgamated wizard is behind us, and this is even in a scripted moment. It just lined perfectly up in my run. I really like the use of what I'm gonna call the amalgamated, which I don't know if it's the official name, but it sounds really metal, so it's fine. While having solved puzzles, we're also playing a game of cat and mouse with this creature. It serves as Nemesis or Mr. X from Resident Evil does, being an unkillable enemy and always keeping you on your toes. It made me feel actual reprieve and like safe area. I think it also gives the pipe solving puzzles more dimensions that benefit the monotony of them. After solving yet another pipe puzzle, we get a key from the tortured body, where we can go to the cell that was locked. Going through this, we can get to the next section of the area, which I really like. It's kind of a fetch quest, but the way that Torpal implemented exploration in mind, rather than just getting the things, it's really cool, and I appreciate it. After finding the 4 items, we put them correspondingly on a fireplace, which changes the color of the flame. And after putting them all in the correct order, we get access to the final puzzle of the area, which is the best implementation of the amalgamation in the whole area. Talking to a prisoner who almost escaped, we learn the spell Tal Ist, Tal Eth, Ort Tal, which sends you to the Shadow Room. This is mostly used for finding secrets in the game, which I'll touch on later. After solving another pipe puzzle, we can make our way out of the dungeon and into the Doomlord of Flesh's actual domain, where we're heeded by the man himself about the rules of this place.
Harbor no ill will towards my child, and harm not. It desires only to add your flesh to its own, that it may grow and return to its mother. Is that not the way of our life? To consume and be made anew. Come now, you are almost within my embrace. Become one with me, like all the others, and live life unending in my perfect realm.
So while you make of that what you will, I'm gonna go press the button to open the gate. Running away, our hands spewing blood, we find our way under a bridge and into a man-made lake. The monster can't get under the bridge, so with the small bit of respite we can have, we can take a rest by a campfire and read a note.
It has finished! Our arduous experiment and long suffering of our test subjects is finally at an end! We have perfected the process of infusing a subject with the flesh of a Doomlord through the use of a blood crystal, so much that the crystal is no longer necessary! Now, but a single spell need be uttered to introduce the transformation in oneself. Early test subjects have been promising, so we are going to enact our first full-scale trials of the spell today! And if you haven't learned the spell yet, it's Ort, Eth, Kinf, Tal, Ort.
We've been so foolish. The Doomlord is a chaotic entity of evil. Nothing made with it or from it could bring anything but suffering. My colleagues are all lost, transformed into those hideous beasts using the spell of our own creation. Had to escape by fleeing further and further underground. One of them caught me and gored me with their raking claws as I ran. As I lay bleeding out in this cavern below earth, I still wish no harm upon these monsters. They were once wizards, same as I. It is not fault of their own that they are now beasts, though I will die as a result of their actions. Are they not still truly innocent of their actions? Would retribution be deserved? It matters not. My time has come. In none will ever read this note. I have given all for the Wizard King.
Ort, F, Nif, Tal, Ort. Murmuring these words, we start to contort, our body becoming larger and larger, our flesh stretching and growing until we're back. Story aside for the second, I really like Torpal's writing in this. There's something so gripping about the way he writes these vivid lines, like the gored by their raking claws is just so physical and metal, and it's perfect for this game. And if you want to read more of Torpal's stuff, go buy the game, find all the arcane lore scattered about. I left it out because 1, the script is already long enough, and 2, I'm lazy. But I do want to give people incentive to buy the game. So, after deciding to transform into the monster again, we can rip down a wall of sticky flesh that allows us to solve a bunch of body-shaped puzzles. Knocking an eye off a flesh stem, or weighing out body parts on a scale to get a key. After getting that key, we can open the door to the boss room. Now, depending on if you killed the monster that's been chasing you, the amalgamation, or you stealthed around it while solving the puzzles, you'll either be on the good side or bad side of the Doom Lord. But if we're being real, it doesn't really matter. Killing the monster makes the whole section 100 times easier, and unless you want the special dialogue, and I don't care. This boss fight's really cool. Torpal Duke uses the boss fights in the game as a progression check to make sure that you have all the things necessary to proceed. And the way he does it with the Doom Lord of Flesh is awesome. You have to travel across this fleshy room, destroying eyes so that you can hack away at the Doom Lord's fleshy body. And after doing this enough times, it finally relents. And with that, we'll move on to the endgame. Before going to confront the Wizard King, we can do a few things. If we revisit the forest and go back to the dungeon from the first game, we can get the Master's Scythe, which is a really cool callback to the first game. There's more to do around these areas now that you have all the spells, but it's mostly collectibles and lore, so from here on I'm done. After you start the wizard fight, there's no going back. But once you've done everything, you can go to the King's Hall and talk to the Wizard King one final time.
Flows into me. Well done, apprentice. With that, each of the 13 black relics are accounted for, belonging either to me or the Master. Only time shall tell who shall prove more powerful. Speaking of which, you have grown more powerful than I had intended, and as such, you have become a liability. I can have no rivals to my power, lest the Master bring an end to us all. Therefore, I must kill you. Consider your apprenticeship ended.
The fight against the Wizard King is actually challenging, which is a really good thing for a change. The hall transforms into a bullet hell, and you have to cast spells to combat the Wizard King spells. I sort of like this rock, paper, scissors style of fight because Torpal really does test your mechanical skill here. Having to know when to use the super spell at the right time, the spacing you need to cast and utilize it, is a really oddly intricate dance for a game with tank controls, and it really pushes the boundaries of the control scheme to their fullest. And in my opinion, it's the #1 fight in the game. After defeating him, the 9 hours of gameplay finally come to an end as we...
At last, after a millennium, the full power of the Nephilim is mine. You played a good little fool gathering remaining relics for me, and weakening your king was the final step needed for my return to power. For it was I who stripped the Nephilim of its divinity over 1,000 years ago. And if those cowardly Templars hadn't betrayed me, I would have conquered this pathetic world long ago. But now I finally have my revenge. The one you called king was the last of the Templars' bloodline. Ancestral keepers of the Black Relics, holy monks sworn to keep them from me at all costs. But this one sought ever to increase his own power and absorbed his own relic after his order was destroyed. From that moment I watched from the shadows as I strove to coalesce my spirit once again. It seems that in his vanity, he formed a new order dedicated to himself. I did the world a favor by disintegrating that laughable excuse for a wizard. But now you were able to defeat 4 beings filled with the Nephilim's power. You are no mere wizard's apprentice. You have become a threat to my omnipotence, a Doom Lord in your own right. This I will not allow. It is time to die. Come, little one. The Master of Death has come for you at last.
Now, the Master's fight can be difficult because he sends out hordes of undead skeletons to fight you. But do you remember the scythe that we got like a few seconds ago when we backtracked to the forest?
You fool! Do you realize what you've done? All is lost. You have sealed our doom. Without me to contain them, the 13 Black Relics will be free once more. With them all together, they will combine to bring forth the Nephilim once more. You have destroyed your king. You have destroyed me, and now you have brought an end to all things. Greater are you in evil than any Doom Lord. My life is fading. Even now I feel the Nephilim's resurgence drawing nigh. May you suffer in the void for all eternity, wizard.
Walking out of a room which oddly resembles the cell from the first game, we meet one of the Templars who sacrificed himself to let the other Templars escape. And now, years later, he's here to guide you on your quest to defeat Nephilim. Around the sanctuary are other Black Relics, and it's our job to destroy each one and confront Nephilim's weakened form once we've done so. This section is a giant boss fight. The best analogy to it is the Ender Dragons fight from Minecraft, where we have to go around these winding platforms and destroy relics while the Nephilim pursues us. I wish there was more to write about here, but there's really not. It's a really intricate scene and really cool gameplay, but it's kind of just mindless. It's a level where you have to really just experience to enjoy it. No verbal explanation would do it justice. After breaking each of the relics, we can go to the middlemost point of the sanctuary and finally confront Nephilim. Stepping through the portal, there's no cutscene. The portal disappears behind us, and a few seconds later, a metal track comes in. Nephilim throws everything at us, spewing projectiles and flying across this battleground. Each time it hits, the background changes color, and it's really cool. Until you realize you can walk up to it and stand and get the time. With the final blow being delivered, Nephilim explodes. And in the most Torpal Duke fashion, the game ends with you being like the last Templar, stranded in time. This isn't a joke, by the way. The ending isn't just like, oh wow, funny bit. No, they committed to it. If you try to load the game again from your save file, you'll just end up in the boss arena, and I haven't found a way out. So, you know. Respect for sticking to the bid. Hey, I tried to record this outro. Oh my god, my chair. Hold up. Look at this. My chair's broken. The screw came out. I've tried to record this outro before. I left my webcam mic on, so it's both this mic and the webcam. But I'm gonna try to just I'm gonna yap about this project. It's gonna be a little annoying, so you can click off if you want. But before you do, main takeaway: go buy Hand of Doom. Go support Torpal Duke. They're on Twitter. Like, I'm pretty sure they have a Ko-Fi. I don't know. This video has been in the works since, I want to say, this summer.
I've just been really dissatisfied with it as a whole, especially towards the end. If you didn't notice, the editing really fell off, like full on fell off. I kind of got just tired, and I'd rather get this video out before I hate it so much that I would just delete it in some like desperate attempt to get rid of it. So if you listened to this video and didn't watch it, you probably got the best experience. Another thing that happened was that I switched PCs. Hold up, I'll show you. I worked a summer job, and I bought myself an Ava motherboard purely because it was like Ava. Also, look at the fucking desk. It's dirty as hell trying to like edit this. But because I switched PCs during this, I lost a lot of like specific clips. I don't know if you watched it, you'd see like the whole Master's Scythe clip that got lost, stuff like that. Or literally like maybe like 3 minutes ago. I guess it's gonna be a little shorter because I'm gonna edit this down. About 3 minutes ago, you get stuck. You do actually get stuck there, and you have to start a new game if you want to do anything else. I lost that too. I lost a lot of clips, so it's just the core of gameplay that I got switched over. I'm so glad that I did this video, but yeah. So if you watched this far, big thank you to my friends who helped me with this video, who supported me. Thank you for watching, and yeah, that's it. I'll hopefully make more of these.